When I heard that there was some talk about some antimalarials being thought of as a potential treatment for COVID-19, including hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, I said to myself, I want to get my hands on maybe the hydroxychloroquine, but I'm not really too sure about it. I don't have any familiarity with it. I'm a radiologist. I'm not a clinician, but it is an antimalarial. And I had a conversation with someone on the internet, and he used the term that these are zinc ionophores. And an ionophore is basically something which allows an ion to pass through a cell membrane, or in this case, the viral membrane. So I basically looked at the chemical structure of the hydroxychloroquine, which is an antimalarial. And I remembered from my days at Penn State when I was taking organic chemistry at the main campus, and for 3 trimesters we were lectured by Gordon Hamilton. I remember one very specific day he put up a structure of quinine on the blackboard, and it was kind of a beautiful molecule. I was actually drawing all of these in my white notebook, and he said that this was used to ameliorate malarial crises, not to really cure it, but to buffer the effects when you had fever. And it was taken by the British from approximately the year 1800 until chloroquine was established, and then later hydroxychloroquine in the 50s, that was used in Vietnam in the 60s. So I reasoned, why don't I take a look at the structure of quinine and chloroquine. And so what I did was I looked that up, and here is the structure here. Okay, so you can see that on the left is quinine, and it has that beautiful basket portion of the molecule. It's almost like a buckyball, a geodesic dome, and then it's got these other structures, analogous structures in the hydrochloroquine molecule and the chloroquine, which are kind of that geodesic dome, but kind of unfurled, unwrapped. It's taken apart. It's stretched out like a Mercator projection, as opposed to a globe. And so I said to myself, well, if all of these are zinc ionophores, and the hydroxychloroquine is a prescription drug, I don't necessarily want to take a prescription drug if I don't yet have the virus. But if they're thinking of treating active cases if you have the virus with hydroxychloroquine, what if I could take something as innocuous as tonic water, which it says right here contains quinine. This is Schweppes, and also the Canada Dry contains quinine, and a liter will contain about 83 milligrams of quinine. Not prescription, they're allowed to sell 83 milligrams of quinine. That's the limit set by the FDA. So, I'm starting to think MacGyver medicine. And I'm thinking that the average American isn't a physician like me, can't write a prescription for himself. He's got Walmart, he's got CVS, he's got stuff that he can access over the counter. If we're going to arm the society with the means to prevent initial viral infection, it has to be something that people can buy over the counter and not be some expensive drug where you actually have to go to a physician. He has to write you a script, you take it to the pharmacy, etc. You know the deal. So, I'm kind of very much imbued by Theodore Roosevelt, because actually he's kind of a hero of mine. He said this. He said, do what you can with what you have where you are. And Teddy was a very interesting character because he was probably like MacGyver in a way. He thought on his feet and he solved problems on the fly. And here's a picture of not the real Teddy Roosevelt. That's actually me dressed as Teddy for a costume party. And so he's my hero, Teddy Roosevelt. So I'm thinking, you know, what can these people do where they are to take care of this virus? So I started thinking about it, and I realized that the best shot you have for repelling an invasion is before the landing craft come ashore. Basically, destroy the landing craft as they're trying to offload their troops. And you come to the realization that this is basically a molecular war on a nanoscale. So let's kind of blow up the coronavirus, and let's say that this can of beans is the coronavirus, okay? And, you know, if I had to open this up, there would be some beans inside, but it's not just all the same beans. You've got, you know, you've got some RNA, okay? You've got some enzyme called reverse transcriptase inside this can, protected by the shell. And then I'm realizing that zinc is an antiviral agent. Just the ion, the zinc ion, is an antiviral agent. A zinc ion is an antiviral agent all by itself. Okay, there's your zinc ion right there. But the thing is, how do we get this zinc inside the virus capsule? Because all of these enzymes are safely inside this can. How do I get the zinc inside? Well, you need an ionophore. And we have an ionophore in bacitracin. This is an antibiotic called bacitracin. It's an ionophore for sodium and potassium. Well, we need an ionophore for zinc. And so the ionophore for zinc is quinine. This quinine in this Schweppes is the ionophore. And here's how it works. Here's how it works. This is the can. The ionophore attaches to the membrane. Here's your zinc. It passes through the hole. This is what an ionophore does. It actually lets that zinc get in a hole in the armor. If you will, if this can is a submarine, what we're doing is instead of installing glass portals, we're installing screen portals in the submarine, okay? And that's porous. The zinc can get through. You wouldn't want to build a submarine with mesh portals because it would sink. But that's exactly what this ionophore does. It creates holes in the capsid of the virus. Basically puts a weakness in its armor, lets the zinc get inside. Once the zinc gets inside, that enzyme that I showed you before that's like this reverse transcriptase, which is going to basically take that RNA and inject it into your cells so it can commandeer your body. Well, here's a blow up of that enzyme. It has a three-dimensional shape. That's an enzyme. Here's the zinc. Here's what happens when the zinc gets into the enzyme. It's non-functional. You have now taken a siege engine of the virus and destroyed whatever chance it has to infect you. Because you not only used the hole to get the zinc inside the virus, you've also taken a surplus of zinc. So what I do is, you know, these work hand in hand. I have the quinine, not a very high dose of it, and the zinc in an elevated dose, because the higher the zinc, don't want to overdo it, but the higher the zinc, it's going to take advantage of those holes in the virus to get inside. Now, there are those who listen to my theory, or they didn't identify me as the author, but they've heard it on the internet, and they said, well, there's not enough quinine in that bottle to do the job, and it's not as good as hydroxychloroquine. Well, how do they know there isn't enough quinine in that bottle? Because what is the quinine's role here? The quinine is a can opener. And how many can openers do you need? Well, in 83 milligrams of quinine, there might be a can opener for each of the several viruses that are going to attack you on a daily basis. And so you puncture that viral shell, the zinc gets inside, it destroys the enzymes which are inside, and then you've got this shell of a non-functional sea gentian that's sitting somewhere on your mucosa in your nostril, maybe in a capillary below your mucosal surface. And that's going to be found by a T cell. A policing T cell, he's on patrol, said, what's this? What's this carcass of a virus sitting here? That's a foreign protein. Let me analyze that structure and make an antibody to it. What you've done is you've bought your body time. You've bought time for your body's military-industrial complex to ramp up the antibodies for this shell, which previously was unseen. It's all timing, because if you hadn't slowed it down, it would be well on its way replicating in the billions of duplicates of itself. But you stopped it cold as it was trying to get in the gate. And as a result of that, you've bought your T cells time, just like closing the border to incoming flights bought time for the country to figure out what we were going to do about the virus. You're buying time for your body to figure out how to defeat the shell, which has a very specific protein coat, which is its signature, which only a unique antibody can defeat, and you have to make that antibody. Okay. It's a very elegant theory. I don't know how to prove it. People have said to me, well, have you treated any patients? And the whole point is, well, we don't want people to become patients. We want to take people who are not yet patients, healthy people like me, and give them a shield so they don't become patients. In other words, we might never know who would have gotten infected if we hadn't done this. But you know something? The tonic water is innocuous, the zinc is innocuous, the vitamin C is innocuous, the 200 micrograms of selenium is innocuous, but the main thing is the tonic water and the zinc. Those are innocuous. They're over the counter. You don't need a prescription. You don't need your doctor. You can just decide for yourself, I'm going to do this. And I'm not recommending that you do it, but I'm just saying, if this logic makes sense to you, if it has the ring of truth, and it makes sense, why not? Why not?